Captain Lee Jun stood on the bridge of the Aegis, watching stars drift past the main viewing screen. The year was 2387, and humanity had been traveling among the stars for over a century. But even now, Lee Jun still felt wonder when he looked into the endless black of space. The Aegis was the largest ship in the Earth Defense Fleet. It carried 3,000 crew members and enough firepower to level a small moon. Lee Jun had commanded her for 5 years, and he knew every bolt and wire in her hull. She was his home, and his crew was his family. "Captain," called Dr. Park Hana from her station near the communications array. "I'm picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." Lee Jun turned toward her. Dr. Park was the ship's chief science officer and the best xenobiologist in the fleet. If she thought something was strange, it was worth investigating. "What kind of strange?" Lee Jun asked. "It's a distress signal, but not like any I've seen before. The pattern is completely alien, and it's being broadcast on every frequency at once. Someone really wants to be heard." Lieutenant Kim Tae looked up from his tactical station. Kim was a former Special Forces soldier who had joined the fleet after losing his left arm in a training accident. The cybernetic replacement worked better than his original arm, but Kim still preferred to solve problems with his brain rather than brute force. "Could be a trap," Kim said. "Pirates sometimes use fake distress signals to lure ships into ambushes." "Doctor," Park shook her head. "I don't think so. The signal is too complex, and it's using mathematical sequences that would take years to fake properly. This is real." Engineer Yoon Bin's voice crackled over the comm system from the engine room. "Captain, I'm seeing power fluctuations in the communication array. Whatever that signal is, it's strong enough to interfere with our own systems." Lee Jun frowned. Yoon Bin was the best engineer he had ever worked with. The man could fix anything, with spare parts and determination. If the signal was affecting their systems, it had to be incredibly powerful. "Dr. Park, can you clean up the signal enough for us to understand it?" "I'm trying, Captain. Give me a few minutes." Lee Jun waited while Dr. Park worked her magic on the alien transmission. Around him, the bridge crew continued their duties, but he could feel the tension in the air. First contact with a new alien species was always dangerous. Humanity had learned that lesson the hard way during their early years in space. The galaxy was full of different species, and most of them thought humans were crazy. Earth was what the aliens called a death world, a planet so dangerous that only the toughest species could survive there. Humans had evolved to deal with natural disasters, predators, disease, and extreme weather. This made them incredibly tough, but also unpredictable by alien standards. Most alien species came from gentle worlds with stable climates and peaceful evolution. They found human behavior confusing and often frightening. Humans fought each other, took unnecessary risks, and refused to give up even when defeat was certain. The aliens called them Deathworlders, and usually kept their distance. "Got it," Dr. Park announced. "The signal is from something called the Villani Confederation. They're under attack by a species called the Korthak Empire." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they could hear the alien voice. It was high-pitched and musical, like bird song mixed with whale calls. Dr. Park's translation software worked quickly to convert the alien words into human speech. "This is Elder Velnara of the Villani Confederation. We are under attack by the Korthak Empire. 12 of our worlds have already fallen. We have tried to fight, but we are not warriors. The Korthak consume everything in their path. We know the Galactic Council will not help us. They say interference in species conflicts is forbidden, but we have heard stories of the warriors from the Death World. We call upon the humans, the Deathworlders, to help us. Please, if you can hear this, we are dying." The bridge fell silent. Lee Jun could feel his crew's eyes on him, waiting for orders. The Galactic Council had very strict rules about interfering in conflicts between species. Breaking those rules could mean exile from civilized space for all of humanity. Lieutenant Kim Tae spoke first. "Captain, the Galactic Council specifically forbids military intervention in species conflicts. If we respond to this signal, we could be breaking interstellar law." Dr. Park turned to face the captain. "But, sir, they asked for us specifically. They know the risks of calling for Deathworlders, but they did it anyway. They must be desperate." Engineer Yoon Bin's voice came over the comm again. "Captain, I'm reading the technical data buried in that signal. These Korthak have ships bigger than ours and weapons we've never seen before. But the Villani, their technology is mostly for peaceful purposes. They're not warriors." Lee Jun walked to the center of the bridge and stared at the main screen. The signal was still coming through, repeating the same desperate plea over and over. Somewhere out there, an entire civilization was being destroyed, and they had specifically asked for human help. "Kim, what do you know about the Korthak Empire?" Kim Tae called up data on his tactical screen. "Not much, sir. They're a militaristic species from the Outer Rim. Intelligence reports say they're some kind of hive mind. They don't negotiate, don't retreat, and don't take prisoners. Every world they attack gets completely stripped of resources. And the Villani?" Dr. Park answered this time. "Peaceful traders, mostly. They're amphibious creatures from high-gravity water worlds. They've been part of the galactic community for over 300 years, and they've never been involved in a military conflict." Lee Jun thought about his options. The smart thing to do would be to report the signal to Earth Command and let the politicians decide. That would take weeks, and by then the Villani might all be dead. The right thing to do was clear, but it would mean breaking the law and possibly ending his career. "Dr. Park, how long until that signal reaches Earth?" "At this distance, about 8 days, sir." "And how long would it take us to reach Villani space?" Lieutenant Kim checked his navigation computer. 43 hours at maximum jump speed, Captain." Lee Jun made his decision. "All hands, this is..." The captain. "Prepare for emergency jump. We're going to help the Villani." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Dr. Park smiled. Kim Tae nodded grimly, and Engineer Yoon Bin's voice came over the comm with barely contained excitement. "Captain, the crew is with you. Deathworlders don't abandon people who ask for help." Lee Jun felt a surge of pride in his crew. They were about to break interstellar law and possibly start a war with an unknown enemy. But they were human, and humans protected those who could not protect themselves. "Yoon Bin, I need maximum power to the jump drives. Kim, plot a course for Villani space. Dr. Park, send a response to their signal. Tell them the fleet is coming." The Aegis and her escort. Ships turned toward distant stars, carrying humanity into another impossible fight. But that was what Deathworlders did best. The human fleet dropped out of jump space at the edge of the Villani system. 50 ships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the light of the alien sun. Captain Lee Jun stood on the bridge of the Aegis, studying the tactical display with growing concern. "Report," he ordered. Lieutenant Kim Tae worked quickly at his station. "I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system, Captain. The Korthak fleet is enormous. At least 200 ships, some of them larger than anything in our databases." Dr. Park Hana looked up from her science station, her face pale. "Captain, I'm detecting debris fields around several planets. The Korthak have already destroyed the orbital habitats around at least 4 worlds. Before Lee Jun could respond, his communication officer announced an incoming transmission from Earth. Admiral Choi Hai's face appeared on the main screen. She was an older woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. "Captain Lee, you are operating outside your authorized patrol zone," Admiral Choi said formally. Then she paused and looked directly at the camera. "However, I understand that Deathworlders sometimes need to make their own decisions. You have my unofficial support, but if this goes wrong, I never sent you." "Understood, Admiral," Lee Jun replied. Admiral Choi's expression softened slightly. "Give them hell, Captain. Show these Korthak what happens when they mess with people, under human protection." The transmission ended and Lee Jun felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Admiral Choi was taking a huge risk by supporting them, but she understood what it meant to be human. "Sergeant Oh Kyung to the bridge," Lee Jun called over the comm. Sergeant Oh was the leader of the ship's Marine contingent. She was small but fierce, with scars on her hands from a dozen different battles. When she arrived on the bridge, she was already wearing her combat armor. "Captain, my Marines are ready for anything," she reported. "Good. We may need them before this is over." Pilot Nam Su's voice crackled over the comm from the fighter bay. "Captain, my squadron is fueled and armed. Just give us a target." Nam was the best pilot in the fleet, able to fly his fighter through asteroid fields and enemy fire with equal ease. His confidence was infectious, and his pilots would follow him anywhere. "Stand by, Nam. We need to assess the situation first." "Doctor." Park suddenly looked up from her station with excitement. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It's the Vellani." The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The creature looked like a cross between a frog and a dolphin, with large, intelligent eyes and smooth, wet skin. When it spoke, its voice was translated by the ship's computer. "Human vessels. This is Elder Velnara of the Vellani Confederation. We cannot believe you actually came. The stories said that Deathworlders were fierce and dangerous, but also that they protected the innocent." "Elder Velnara," Lee Jun replied. "I am Captain Lee Jun of the Earthship Aegis. We received your distress call and came as quickly as we could. What is your current situation?" The alien's large eyes seemed to fill with hope. "The Korthak fleet arrived 6 days ago. They have surrounded our 3 remaining worlds and destroyed our defense platforms. But they have not attacked the planets themselves. We believe they are waiting for something." Lieutenant Kim studied his tactical display. "Captain, Elder Velnara is right. The Korthak ships are in defensive positions around the 3 planets. They're not moving to attack." "Why would they wait?" Lee Jun wondered aloud. Dr. Park had been analyzing the Korthak fleet composition. "Captain, I think I know. Look at these ship configurations. Most of their fleet consists of troop transports and resource extraction vessels. They're waiting for reinforcements before they begin their final assault." Elder Velnara's image nodded sadly. "Our scouts reported seeing Korthak reinforcement fleets moving through nearby systems. They will arrive within 2 days. When they do, our worlds will fall and our people will be consumed." Sergeant O stepped forward. "Captain, if they're waiting for reinforcements, that gives us an advantage. We can hit them while they're in defensive positions instead of fighting their full fleet." Pilot Nam's voice came over the comm again. "Captain, I've been studying their formation. They're positioned like they expect an attack from deep space, not from within the system. If we can get close to the planets, we might catch them off guard." Li Jun considered the tactical situation. The human fleet was outnumbered 4-1, but they had the element of surprise. The Korthak clearly didn't expect anyone to respond. To the Volani distress call. Elder Velnara, what can you tell us about Korthak tactics and technology? The alien leader consulted with others off-screen before responding. They fight like a single organism, Captain. All their ships move in, perfect coordination, as if controlled by one mind. Their weapons are powerful but not very accurate at long range. They prefer to get close and overwhelm their enemies with superior numbers. Dr. Park looked up from her analysis. Captain, that matches what we know about hive mind species. They're very efficient, but not very adaptable. They probably have one plan of attack and stick to it no matter what happens. That could work in our favor, Lieutenant Kim observed. Human tactics emphasize flexibility and individual initiative. If they can't adapt quickly, we might be able to confuse them. Engineer Yoon Bin's voice came over the comm from the engine room. Captain, I've been analyzing their ship designs from the sensor data. Their technology is different from ours, but not necessarily better. They use brute force where we use finesse. Li Jun made his decision. All ships, this is Captain Lee. We're going to engage the Korthak fleet before their reinforcements arrive. Our objective is to break their blockade and give the Volani a chance to evacuate their people. But Captain, Elder Velnara protested, your fleet is so small compared to theirs. You will be destroyed. Li Jun smiled grimly. Elder Velnara, you called for Deathworlders. We didn't survive on Earth by backing down from impossible odds. We're going to show these Korthak something they've never seen before. The alien leader's eyes widened. What is that, Captain? Chaos, Li Jun replied. Pure human chaos. He turned to his crew. Kim, I want you to plot attack vectors that make no tactical sense. We're going to hit them from directions they won't expect. Dr. Park, I need you to jam their communication so they can't coordinate effectively. Yoon Bin, give me everything the engines have got. And if their reinforcements arrive while we're fighting? Sergeant O asked. Then we'll deal with that when it happens, Li Jun said. Right now, we have innocent people depending on us, and that's all that matters. The human fleet began to move deeper into the system, accelerating toward the Korthak positions. On the Aegis bridge, the crew worked with quiet efficiency, preparing for a battle that would either save an entire species or destroy the human fleet. Elder Velnara watched their approach with amazement. Captain Lee, why do you risk everything for people you have never met? Li Jun thought about the question for a moment. Because that's what humans do, Elder. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. It's what makes us who we are. As the human ships closed the distance to the enemy fleet, alarms began sounding on Korthak vessels throughout the system. For the first time in their history, the Korthak Empire was about to face an enemy that refused to follow the rules of war. The Deathworlders were coming, and they brought chaos with them. The human fleet moved through space like a school of fish, each ship following its own path but somehow working together. Captain Li Jun watched the tactical display as his ships approached the Korthak positions. The alien fleet hung around. The three Volani worlds like a dark cloud waiting for their reinforcements to arrive. Captain, Dr. Park Hana called from her station. I'm receiving another transmission from the planet's surface. Elder Velnara wants to speak with you again. The main screen showed the amphibious alien leader, but now Li Jun could see other Volani gathered behind him. They all had the same large, intelligent eyes, but their skin colors ranged from blue-green to silver. Captain Lee, Elder Velnara said, We have gathered our greatest minds to help you understand the Korthak. We hope this knowledge will keep you alive. Any information would be helpful, Li Jun replied. An older Vellani moved forward. Her skin was a deep blue color and her eyes held ancient wisdom. I am Scholar Niravel. I have studied the Korthak for many years. They are not like other species. They think as one mind in many bodies. Dr. Park leaned forward with interest. You mean they're a true hive mind? Not just a highly organized society? Exactly, Scholar Niravel confirmed. Each Korthak ship is like a finger on a hand. They can act independently for simple tasks, but all major decisions come from the central mind. This makes them very efficient but also predictable. Lieutenant Kim Tae looked up from his tactical station. That explains their formation. They're positioned exactly where military doctrine would suggest, with no variation or creativity. There is more, Scholar Niravel continued. The Korthak have never retreated from a battle. In their 1,000-year history, they either win completely or die completely. They cannot understand the concept of strategic withdrawal. Dr. Bei Wan, the ship's military psychologist, had been listening from her position near the communications array. That kind of inflexibility could be a weakness. If we can force them into a situation their doctrine doesn't cover, they might not know how to respond. Elder Velnara spoke again. Captain, we must also tell you about their technology. Korthak. Ships are built from the same silicon-based materials as their bodies. They can repair battle damage by consuming metal from destroyed ships. Engineer Yoon Bin's voice came over the comm from the engine room. Captain, that's important information. Our standard weapons might not be effective against silicon-based armor. I'll need to modify our weapon systems. How long will that take? Li Jun asked. Give me 2 hours, Captain. I can recalibrate our energy weapons to disrupt silicon-based matter. It won't be as effective as our normal weapons, but it should work. Commander C.O. Dam stepped onto the bridge. She was the leader of the ship's special operations team, a woman who could infiltrate enemy positions and complete impossible missions. Her presence usually meant trouble was coming. Captain, Commander C.O. said, I've been studying the Korthak, communication patterns with Dr. Park. I think we can use their hive mind against them. How? Li Jun asked. If they all think as one mind, then disrupting their communications should cause confusion throughout their entire fleet. It would be like cutting the nerves in a body. Dr. Park nodded enthusiastically. Commander Seo is right, Captain. I can create interference patterns that will jam their quantum communication network, but it will only work if we can get close enough to their command ships. Specialist Han Ri, the ship's electronic warfare expert, looked up from her station. Captain, I can help with that. If Dr. Park can identify their command frequencies, I can create a virus that will spread through their entire network. Li Jun felt a plan forming in his mind. Show me their fleet positions again. The main screen switched to a tactical overview of the system. The Korthak fleet was arranged in 3 groups, one around each Vellani world. Each group had a large command ship at its center, surrounded by smaller vessels in perfect geometric patterns. They're so organized, Lieutenant Kim observed. Look at those formations. Every ship is exactly where mathematical calculations would place it for maximum efficiency. That's their weakness, Li Jun realized. They think like a computer, not like warriors. They can't imagine an enemy that doesn't follow logical patterns. Commander Seo smiled. Captain, what if we don't follow logical patterns? What if we do exactly what they least expect? Such as? Attack all 3 groups simultaneously with forces that are clearly insufficient for victory. No rational commander would divide their fleet when facing superior numbers. Dr. Bei Wan nodded in agreement. From a psychological standpoint, the EI Korthak won't know how to respond to irrational tactics. Their entire mindset is based on efficiency and logic. Li Jun turned to Elder Velnara on the screen. How long before their reinforcements arrive? Our scouts estimate 36 hours, Captain. That gives us time for one attack. If we fail, there won't be a second chance. Navigator Shin Bo, who had been quietly calculating jump coordinates, spoke up. Captain, I can position our ships for simultaneous attacks on all three enemy groups, but once we commit, we won't be able to retreat quickly. We're not planning to retreat, Li Jun said firmly. We're going to do something the Korthak have never seen before. We're going to fight like humans. He turned to address his crew. Listen carefully. We're going to split our fleet into 3 groups and attack all 3 enemy positions at once. Each group will use different tactics. Kim, I want your group to attack head-on with maximum aggression. Commander Seo, take your ships and hit them from unexpected angles. Dr. Park, you'll coordinate the electronic warfare from the Aegis while we provide fire support. Captain, Scholar Niravel interjected from the screen, the Korthak have never faced an enemy that willingly split their forces. They will not understand your strategy. That's exactly what I'm counting on, Li Jun replied. Engineer Yoon Bin's voice came over the comm. Captain, weapon modifications are complete. I've also made some improvements to our shield generators. They should hold up better against Korthak energy weapons. Pilot Nam Su called from the fighter bay. Captain, my pilots are ready. Just tell us where you want us. Li Jun felt the familiar calm that came before battle. His crew was ready, his ship was ready, and somewhere out there, innocent people were depending on them. All ships, this is. Captain Li, we are about to engage a superior enemy force using tactics that would make any sane military commander court-martial us. But we're not sane. We're human. We're Deathworlders. And we're going to show these Korthak what that means. He paused, looking around at his bridge crew. They were scared but determined, ready to follow him into an impossible battle. Elder Velnara, keep your people safe. The fleet is coming. The human ships began to separate, each group heading toward a different part of the Korthak fleet. On alien ships throughout the system, sensors detected the approaching vessels. For the first time in their history, the Korthak faced an enemy that refused to be logical. The battle for the Villani system was about to begin, and it would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The first shots of the battle lit up space like deadly fireworks. Captain Li Jun gripped his command chair as the Aegis shook under enemy fire. Around him, his bridge crew worked with desperate efficiency as alarms blared throughout the ship. Enemy. Fleet is responding to our attack, Lieutenant Kim Tae reported from his tactical station. But Captain, look at this. They're trying to reorganize their entire formation to deal with our 3-pronged assault. On the main screen, the Korthak fleet was moving in strange patterns. Ships that had been guarding one planet were trying to move to help defend another. The perfect geometric formations were breaking apart as the hive mind struggled to process the illogical human attack. They don't know what to do, Dr. Park Hana observed with amazement. Their doctrine probably covers fighting one enemy fleet, but not 3 separate attacks happening at the same time. Specialist Han Ri looked up from her electronic warfare station with a huge grin. Captain, the virus is working. I've managed to infiltrate their communication network. Their command ships are sending contradictory orders to their fleets. Show me, Li Jun ordered. The tactical display changed to show communication patterns throughout the Korthak fleet. Instead of the clean, organized data streams they had seen before, the network looked like a spider web torn by wind. "They're trying to coordinate responses to all three attacks simultaneously," Henri explained. "But their hive mind wasn't designed to handle multiple crisis situations. It's like a computer trying to run too many programs at once." Engineer Yun Bin's voice came over the comm from the engine room. "Captain, the weapon modifications are working perfectly. Our energy beams are tearing through their silicon-based armor like paper." Through the viewing ports, Li Jun could see the battle raging around them. Human ships darted between the larger Korthak vessels like wolves attacking a herd of cattle. Pilot Nam Su and his fighter squadron wove impossible patterns through enemy formations, their small ships too fast and unpredictable for the alien gunners to track. "Nam Su to Aegis," the pilot's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, you should see the confusion out here. The Korthak ships are actually shooting at each other because they can't tell which way our fighters are going to move next. Commander Co. Dam's strike group was performing even better than expected. Her ships appeared from behind asteroids and debris fields, struck hard at Korthak vessels, then disappeared before the enemy could respond. The Korthak, who always fought in organized formations, had no experience dealing with guerrilla tactics. Commander Co. to Fleet," her voice came, over the comm. "We've destroyed 6 enemy ships and damaged 12 more. The Korthak are trying to chase us, but they keep leaving their defensive positions open." Lieutenant Kim took advantage of those openings. His group made direct assaults on the weakened enemy formations, using human aggression and determination to punch through Korthak lines that should have been impenetrable. "Kim Tae to Aegis," he reported. "The enemy is retreating from the second planet. I repeat, Korthak forces are withdrawing from Vellani 2. Li Jun could hardly believe what he was hearing. "Confirm that, Lieutenant. Are you certain they're retreating?" "Confirmed, Captain. 12 Korthak ships just jumped out of the system. The rest are falling back to defensive positions around their command ship." Dr. Park looked up from her station with shock. "Captain, according to Vellani records, the Korthak have never retreated from battle. This is completely unprecedented." On the main screen, Elder Velnara's face appeared. The alien leader looked stunned. "Captain Lee, we are monitoring the battle from our shelters. The Korthak are actually retreating. In 1,000 years of galactic history, no one has ever made them retreat." "It's because they don't understand chaos," Dr. Baywan explained. "Their hive mind is designed for order and efficiency. When faced with completely irrational tactics, they have no programmed response." Sergeant Oh Kyung's voice came over the comm from the Marine Bay. "Captain, request permission to board the damaged Korthak ships. If we can capture one of their vessels, we might learn more about their technology." "Granted, Sergeant. But be careful. We don't know how they'll react to boarding actions." Colonel Lim Do, who commanded the ship's ground forces, added his voice to the comm. "Captain, my troops are ready to support Sergeant Oh. We can secure any ship she captures." The battle continued to rage around the 3 Vellani worlds, but the tide was clearly turning. The Korthak fleet, which had seemed invincible just hours before, was now scattered and confused. Their hive mind could not adapt to human unpredictability. "Captain," Navigator Shin Bo called from his station, "I'm detecting new energy signatures at the edge of the system. The Korthak reinforcements are arriving early." Li Jun felt his heart sink. The human fleet had been winning against the original Korthak force, but they were already damaged and low on ammunition. Fighting fresh reinforcements would be suicide. "How many ships?" he asked. Shin Bo studied his sensors carefully. "At least 300, Captain. It's a massive fleet." But then something unexpected happened. Instead of moving to attack the human fleet, the Korthak reinforcements stopped at the edge of the system. They seemed to be communicating with the original fleet, trying to understand what had happened. They're confused, Dr. Park realized. The reinforcements can't understand why the original fleet is scattered and retreating. It doesn't match any scenario in their tactical database. Specialist Han Ri was monitoring the alien communications with growing excitement. Captain, you need to hear this. I'm picking up communications between the two Korthak fleets. The reinforcements are demanding to know why the original fleet is not in proper formation. Can you translate what they're saying? Li Jun asked. Some of it. The original fleet is trying to explain human tactics, but the reinforcement fleet doesn't believe them. They think the original fleet has malfunctioned somehow. Commander Seo's voice came over the comm with barely contained laughter. Captain, the two Korthak fleets are arguing with each other. They can't agree on what to do about us. Li Jun saw an opportunity. All ships maintain current positions but cease fire. Let's see what happens when we stop being predictable again. The human fleet suddenly went silent. They stopped attacking, stopped moving, and simply waited in the middle of the battlefield. To the Korthak, this was another impossible situation. Enemies were supposed to either attack or retreat, not just sit in space doing nothing. The reinforcement fleet is demanding that we attack them, Han Ri reported. They can't understand why we're not following standard battle tactics. And the original fleet? Li Jun asked. They're warning the reinforcements that humans don't follow standard tactics, but the reinforcements think they're lying or broken. Elder Velnara's voice came over the comm with amazement. Captain Li, the Korthak fleets are moving away from each other. They appear to be having some kind of disagreement. Li Jun smiled. Human unpredictability had done more than win a battle. It had broken the Korthak hive mind's ability to function. The reinforcement fleet, which should have destroyed the human forces, was instead arguing with its own allies. All ships, Li Jun announced, prepare for Phase 2 of our completely insane battle plan. His crew looked at him with curiosity and excitement. They had already done the impossible by making the Korthak retreat. What could Phase 2 possibly involve? We're going to do something so crazy that both Korthak fleets will have to cooperate just to figure out what we're thinking. The battle for the Volani system was far from over, but humanity had already achieved something no other species in galactic history had managed. They had made the unstoppable Korthak Empire stop and think. Captain Li Jun stood in the center of his bridge, watching the most unusual scene in galactic military history unfold on the main screen. Two Korthak fleets, each larger than the entire human force, hung in space arguing with each other instead of attacking their enemy. Dr. Park, Li Jun said, open a communication channel to both Korthak fleets. Sir? Dr. Park looked confused. You want to talk to them? I want to do something no one in galactic history has ever done. I want to offer the Korthak Empire terms for surrender. The bridge fell silent. Lieutenant Kim Tae turned from his tactical station with his mouth open. Engineer Yoon Bin's voice came over the comm from the engine room with a shocked, Captain, did you just say surrender terms? That's right, Li Jun confirmed. We're going to offer them the chance to leave peacefully. Specialist Han Ri laughed despite herself. Captain, they outnumber us 10-1, and you want to offer them surrender terms? That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. Exactly, Li Jun replied. It's so insane that their hive mind won't know how to process it. Dr. Park opened the channel, and Li Jun's image was broadcast to both Korthak fleets. He stood straight and spoke with the confidence of someone who had just won a major victory. Korthak Empire, this is Captain Li Jun of the Earth Defense Fleet. You came here to destroy the Volani Confederation. You have failed. Your forces have been scattered, and your reinforcements cannot agree on tactics. I offer you this one chance to withdraw from Volani space with honor." The response was immediate chaos. Both Korthak fleets began broadcasting on every frequency at once. The translation software struggled to keep up with the flood of alien communications. They're demanding to know how a tiny force can offer surrender. "Terms to a superior fleet," Henri reported. "The original fleet is trying to explain that humans don't follow normal logic, but the reinforcements still don't believe it." "Captain," Elder Velnara's voice came over the comm from the planet's surface. "What are you doing?" "The Korthak will never surrender to a smaller force." "Elder, the Korthak have never faced humans before. They don't know what we're capable of." Commander C.O. Dam's strike group chose that moment to demonstrate exactly what humans were capable of. Her ship suddenly appeared behind the reinforcement fleet and delivered a devastating attack on their rear guard. Then, before the Korthak could respond, her ships vanished again into the asteroid field. "SCO Dam to Aegis," her voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, I just wanted to remind the reinforcements that we're still here." The effect was immediate. The reinforcement fleet spun around to face this new threat, only to find empty space. They began firing wildly at asteroids and debris, hoping to hit the hidden human ships. Pilot Nam Su's fighter squadron took advantage of the confusion. They swept through the disorganized Korthak formations, their small ships moving too fast for the alien gunners to track. Nam's voice came over the comm with excitement. "Captain, they're shooting at each other again. The two fleets can't coordinate their targeting systems." Lieutenant Kim's group used the distraction to rescue Sergeant Oh Kyung and her Marines, who had successfully captured a Korthak vessel. The boarding action had been brutal, but brief. The Korthak crew, cut off from their hive mind by the communication jamming, had surrendered rather than fight as individuals. "Sergeant O to Aegis," she reported. "Captain, we've secured the alien ship. But, sir, you need to know something. These Korthak aren't warriors. They're more like worker drones. Without orders from their hive mind, they don't know how to fight." Dr. Bei Wan, who had been analyzing the Korthak psychology throughout the battle, suddenly understood. "Captain, I think I know why our tactics are so effective. The Korthak aren't really a military species. They're more like a giant organism that uses military force to gather resources. Individual initiative is completely alien to them. Which means," Dr. Park added, "when we disrupt their command structure, they become helpless." Lee Jun saw the final piece of his plan falling into place. "All ships, begin Phase 3. We're going to end this war." "What's Phase 3? Kim Tae asked. "We're going to do something so fundamentally human that the Korthak will have no choice but to retreat. We're going to show mercy to a defeated enemy." The human fleet moved toward the scattered Korthak vessels, but instead of attacking, they began broadcasting rescue signals. Human medical ships approached damaged alien vessels offering aid. Marine units that had been preparing for combat instead organized rescue operations for Korthak crew members trapped in damaged ships. "What are you doing?" came a confused transmission from the Korthak command ship. "Why do you help enemies?" "Because," Lee Jun replied calmly, "that's what civilized beings do. We help those in need, even former enemies." The concept was so foreign to the Korthak hive mind that it caused a complete system overload. Both fleets stopped moving entirely as their collective consciousness tried to process the idea of an enemy, offering help instead of delivering a killing blow. Captain Kang Sol's voice suddenly came over the long-range communicator. "Captain Lee, this is the relief fleet from Earth. We just dropped out of jump space and what exactly is happening? Here?" Lee Jun looked at the tactical display. Captain Kang had arrived with 20 additional ships, including 2 heavy cruisers. But more importantly, he had brought Ambassador Young Min, who specialized in first contact situations. "Captain Kang, Ambassador Young, welcome to the most unusual battle in galactic history. We've defeated the Korthak Empire by confusing them to death." Ambassador Young Min's cultured voice came over the comm. Captain Lee, I'm reading 2 intact Korthak fleets and 1 very small human force. How exactly did you defeat them? By being human, Ambassador. By doing things that make no sense to anyone except us. Over the next few hours, a remarkable scene unfolded in Valani space. Human medical teams worked alongside Korthak engineers to repair damaged ships. Human Marines shared rations with alien soldiers. Ambassador Young Min negotiated the first-ever ceasefire agreement with a Korthak hive mind. The final breakthrough came when Dr. Park made contact with the Korthak central consciousness itself. The hive mind wanted to understand how humans could be so unpredictable yet still function as a coordinated force. We are individuals, Lee Jun explained to the alien intelligence. Each of us makes our own choices, but we choose to work together. We choose to protect the innocent. We choose to show mercy even to enemies. The concept of choice was revolutionary to the Korthak. Their entire existence was based on predetermined responses to specific situations. The idea that beings could act against their programming, could choose to help instead of harm, was completely alien to them. Elder Velnara's voice came over the comm with wonder. Captain Lee, the Korthak fleets are withdrawing from our space. They're actually leaving, without destroying anything. Not just leaving, Ambassador Young Min added. They're broadcasting a message to their entire empire. They're declaring Valani space to be under human protection. Any Korthak ship that enters this system will be considered in violation of imperial law. Lee Jun felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Not only had they saved the Valani, but they had done something unprecedented in galactic history. They had ended a war without destroying their enemy. Captain, Dr. Park said quietly, I'm receiving dozens of new distress calls from across the galaxy. Word is spreading that humans will respond to calls for help. Elder Council Representative No Yun's face appeared on the main screen. She was calling from Earth with news that would change everything. Captain Lee, the Earth Council has approved the formation of the Deathworld Defense Initiative. Humanity is officially taking on the role of protector for peaceful species throughout the galaxy. Lee Jun looked around his bridge at the crew who had followed him into an impossible battle and won through sheer human stubbornness and ingenuity. Well, he said with a smile, I guess we'd better get used to hearing those words. What words, Captain? Lieutenant Kim asked. Lee Jun turned back to the main screen, where stars beckoned with the promise of new adventures and new people who might need help. The fleet is coming. In the months that followed, those words would echo across the galaxy whenever peaceful species faced threats they couldn't handle alone. The Korthak Empire, forever changed by their encounter with human unpredictability, became unlikely allies in the effort to protect vulnerable civilizations. And somewhere in space, Captain Lee Jun and the crew of the Aegis continued their mission, proving again and again that sometimes the best way to win a fight is to refuse, to follow the rules of war. The age of the Deathworld defenders had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.